Hey guys, my name is Brooke Wood. I'm a sophomore at Michigan State University. My pronouns are she, her, and hers, and I'm studying accounting at the business school. Two things that I always have with me would be hair ties and chapstick. So I'm excited to finish the summer off with you guys, and now I'm going to get into Angels of America. Okay, so jumping into Angels in America, I'm going to start by comparing the two lives that we see happening in the first episode. So we have Lewis and Pryor, and then we have Harper and Joe. And so I saw the two different lives that are happening are somewhat very similar, is what I got. So to start off, to compare Lewis, I see him as a very self-centered person. He contemplates leaving Pryor just because he has a lesion and he has AIDS. And to me, that's self-centered because he says he can't handle the death of his loved one. But I think you need to be there for someone in times of grief like that, when someone is suffering. So then I went on to compare Lewis with Joe. I think they're two very similar characters, just living two completely different lives. So Joe, I also believe, is self-centered. He knows his wife is at home, and he knows that she has a drug problem, and she is often alone, and she's kind of suffering. And he seems to focus most of his time and energy onto his new job, which is reasonable, but I think he needs to help aid his wife more than he is. And in that aspect, I see him being a self-centered person. So that's where I kind of relate Lewis and Joe as being very similar, even though they're living separate lives. Next, I want to compare Pryor and Harper, because those are the other two main characters we have in the first episode. And due to Pryor's lesion, he has to take drugs, obviously. And in one scene in particular, he's seen taking handfuls of drugs, which is a little excessive, and I don't think was necessary. And that caused him to have hallucinations. And the same thing kind of happened with Harper. They kind of went between the two characters. And she's seen also taking drugs that she doesn't really need. It just shows that she does have a drug problem. And so I think the hallucination scene where they meet each other in this dream is like the main point of this episode. It shows that the characters are living two separate lives, but they meet via hallucination. And I think they notice each other's differences because Pryor and Lewis are these homosexuals, and Lewis is a Jew, and then you have Joe and Harper, who are Mormons, and so these people are living two separate lives, yet they're very similar, so they're coming together via hallucination to try and figure out what's going on. And so I think that's something we're going to see happen a lot more into the next few episodes here. So next I saw when Joe and Lewis meet for the first time, as I compared them earlier, as being very similar. They meet for the first time in the bathroom, and Lewis targets Joe as a, quote, gay Republican, which is rare. But it brings the idea up that Joe might be gay. And then he goes home, and Harper also brings up this idea. And I think seeing him react the way he did shows that he's either A, he is homosexual, or B, he's homophobic because he can't deal with the idea that people might think that he is a homosexual. So I think throughout the next couple episodes, we will be able to see what's going on there. And then the last part I want to touch on was Roy, who was the last scene of this first episode. And I think this really proves that this show is taking place in the 80s, as Roy is totally against being called a homosexual. He is heterosexual, but just messes around with men. So I think it shows how hard it was to be a homosexual in this period of time, which is obviously what the show is about. And I think him arguing with his doctor the way he was shows how incompetent he is when dealing with AIDS. I think in the future this will strongly affect his line of work, and I'm kind of eager to see how that turns out for him. And then Roy also says that AIDS only affects drug addicts and homosexuals. So I think that targets both Lewis and Pryor and Joan Harper. So I think I think it's trying to show that he thinks down upon both of those groups of people. One other thing that I found interesting was Roy says clout a lot, and clout is now something that a lot of people in our generation are starting to say. So it's kind of funny seeing this tie all together between Roy saying this in the show in the 80s, and now all you hear is people our age saying the word clout. So I thought that was kind of interesting. So I hope you guys enjoyed my analysis of Angels in America. It was definitely a good first episode that kind of introduces everything, what's going on between the two lives, and I'm interested to see what happens. I think there's 5 more episodes, so I'm eager to watch those. And then my vlog on Thursday will include more about the book, Gentrification in of the Mind. So Thursday's vlog will be all about that, and I'll see you guys then.